Now we're on to scene 11. Scene 11, I play Esther and the nurse Lola, midwife Lola. My characters in this scene aren't that much influential to the play, and aren't that important in terms of character development, and important in that they're not like major roles, but I think they definitely show turning points for the characters. They show the effects of the characters, so the effect that childbirth has on Anna, and it also shows Bonnie's sense of total character change after she's had this massive outburst at Joe, and something that she wouldn't usually do was a one-night stand. So when we first looked at this scene, we looked at the scenes individually. So first we looked at Carol's side. I'm not in Carol's side, but I think it's important just to look at this part because it's something that we've referenced to and something that's going to happen to Anna, and it's ECT. ECT stands for electroconvulsive therapy, and is basically the idea of using electricity and electric shocks and somehow numb the senses, and perhaps a way of restarting and a way of curing lots of mental illness. In this time, where Carol's scene is set, her generation, it was often used and was quite a common thing that was used to treat sort of mental disorders. And because they weren't really acknowledged as mental disorders, they were sort of seen as incorrect things that were going on that needed to be remedied, and this was their way of solving it physically rather than an actual therapy with talking and stuff. So it introduces it by saying shock therapy, yes, and it's the interaction between Carol and this male doctor called Felix. Felix isn't very sympathetic at all. He treats her very in a very sexist way, and as if she's going to cry. He is very factual, straight to the point. He talks to her about the procedure with little thought to how she's feeling, with little emotion or regard towards her emotion, and is not sensitive in that way particularly at all. And I think even though I'm not part of the scene, I'm learning that Carol's development in the last scene, she had this interaction with her daughter, and then she had beforehand the interaction between John, and I think it was something that was building towards this point, and Carol is finally having this last, she can't stand it anymore, no one is understanding, and I think it's hard for her to set across the difference between Felix and all the male doctors in her head and John, because she feels that John doesn't understand at all either. So even though I'm not in that scene, I think it goes along well, and Alice Birch put it along well with the other scenes that are going on that I am in. So first of all, we looked at the scene that the first scene that I was in with Anna and Lola. Lola is a midwife. She's totally different from Felix, the absolute opposite. Not only regarding in that she's a woman, and we have this feeling that Alice Birch is showing a feminist and strong power underlying message and movement of women, but also the fact that she's sympathetic, she's understanding, she's calming. She's almost like a surrogate mother in the way that she is with Anna, and that's one thing that Chip said: when you are acting this, be caring, be considerate, because some of the things that Anna is saying shows her stability and how she's slowly becoming more unstable and slightly mad and psychopathic, and having strange and funny dreams that to one extent, after having a baby, you do experience some strange feelings and you do some strange things, and she finds that normal. But Anna takes this to a new level, and I think that Lola's still got to be comforting but still shocked, and I think that's got to be clear to the audience, to let the audience know that this is not normal. I think the audience will know that, but to even for this time, in this time period, I feel that there would be a difference between different types of nurses. Some nurses may be more caring than others, but I feel that midwives would be quite caring and considerate towards the mothers, a lot more than doctors and midwives in Carol's time. So I think that in that sense it's something that should help Anna, and something that sets the generations apart, and the way that we play Felix and Lola. But I think that this is too late for Anna. She's already gone past the cusp of insanity almost, and there's no recovering from that because some of the things she's saying. So I'm going to get into some of that now. So she talks about not being able to sleep. There's reference to it can be a bit of a shock, so that it links it to the other scene when they're talking about shock therapy, but she's saying it can be a bit of a surprise, it can be a bit of a shock. She talks about how everything's okay and Dad's sitting with her. She keeps reassuring her, but Anna talks about forgetting everything. At this point in this stage, it's fairly normal, the things that Anna is saying. She's showing distress, but it's fairly normal. There is a sequence where words are being said at the same time across the two scenes, but the way and the tone and the intonation in which they've been said connotate to different feelings behind them. So both characters, Anna and Carol, say no at the same time. This way it's being said is in denial. Carol's is more in aggression and certainty that she does not want shock therapy, and Anna's is in denial because she doesn't believe that that her baby Bonnie is sleeping. But also in the fact that she doesn't know how she feels. I think that this was really hard for me to understand because we've only just gone through it, but how Anna's feeling, because she's not making a lot of sense. There's a lot going through her mind, and I think that she thought having a baby would make it feel all better, but it's not. And I think that she's most regretting her decision. She loves Bonnie, but she almost doesn't want to acknowledge that she's there. They say no, no, no altogether, Carol and Anna. Again, showing different tones. So this shows how they don't want anything from the other person, from the doctor or the nurse. They don't want anything, but I think that Anna is a lot more comforted by Lola than Carol is by Felix. They both say, "Can I get you something?" And then Lola says, "To help you sleep," which is me. I think that I should say this as Lola in a caring way, not forcefully, whereas I think that Felix would be saying this in a forceful way. Like what? Some tea. The whole sequence, I think, brings about the situation and similarities in that they both gonna have the same fate and foreshadows the same fate, but Carol's is a lot more imminent than Anna's at this point, because Anna was going mad, but Carol is becoming a lot more forceful. And I think it was never any doubt that Carol, there was never any doubt that Carol was going insane or losing her mind. It was always that she wanted to escape the world for some reason before the play, perhaps. And I think that Anna never felt this way. I think she was always trying to understand why her mother felt this way. But perhaps as it starts to go along, the whole stress of everything, Anna could never cope or be steady because her mother was never steady, and she never had anyone there to help her feel steady. And that's why she had such a rocky life. I mean, her mother died, then she had a drug addiction, and then after having a baby she just couldn't cope. And I think that's the whole point of this scene. She talks about how she has a dream, but because she can't sleep, and is a lot of references to how normal some of the things she's feeling are. So, about the physical sides of things. There's something that she says about how Bonnie only cries, and the nurse replies, says it is normal to feel like that. And there's a lot of synchronized lines between Felix and Lola where they say it is normal, and to a certain extent these things are normal physically, but to Anna they're not normal, and to Carol it's not normal. I feel like Felix is saying these things are normal, but I don't feel they are, and it's because it was normal and deemed normal in that society at that time, in not a very caring way. So it continues, and Anna talks about her dream. She talks about wanting a baby boy, and especially in that period of time, boys were more desirable children. They were always more desirable than daughters. But I also feel that Alice Birch might have said that, or that she wanted a boy, because of the relationship between female characters in this play. Male characters in this play have a lot more authority and power, even though they're showcased often, and I feel, to be not very nice characters, to be ones that aren't to be trusted, or not perceived as very nice characters. They do get on better in the world, they do get what they want, they get the best out of the world, and they don't feel as vulnerable. And I think that maybe Anna wanted that for her child, not to feel the same way as her, and I think it shows almost that as soon as she had a girl, she realised that her girl's going to have to go through almost everything that she's had to gone through in her life, and she doesn't want that for her child. I think that also the fact that she said she wanted to have a baby boy stops the line of not being able to connect to women, because Carol connected to Laura in the way that she was more fascinated by her than most male characters, but she wasn't able to connect in a caring or close family type way. And Anna didn't have a main female who she was close to, and I think she feels a lot of pressure to be that for Bonnie, and that's why she maybe wanted a baby boy. And she talks about her dream so vividly and strongly, and it's so descriptive, and I think this is quite a disgusting, some of the things and grotesque things that she's describing, talking about reaching between her legs and it being wet and smooth like silk, and persisting to talk about her dreams whilst Lola's being shocked but trying to calm her down, and talking about a baby, a body like glass, and a clump of black hair and blood, and something connected to her tummy by thick meat all knotted and matted. And I think this reminds me of Artaud in the description of itself, that it's quite abstract, and the whole thought and feeling behind it is very grotesque and unsettling, and I think it will make the audience feel uncomfortable when they're listening to it, because it's not a nice description of a happy moment. Once she's had a baby, she should be happy and cheerful, and you'd think because she was looking forward to it and showing this sense of hope in scene 9 that she would be happy that she's had a baby, but instead it connotates to a totally different feeling. And I think that this shows how she's not coming back from this. This isn't something that she can come back from. And the sense of Artaud, often I find, that means that something dark is going to come, and again foreshadows this feeling that her suicide is impending, but also that it's not a funny thing, that it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. And she persists to tell her dream. We were told to get closer and to show more connection between the two characters. So Lola trying to comfort Anna and desperately. I found this a bit hard because Anna is supposed to be in deep thought about her dream and her process, whilst Lola is trying to comfort her and give her a hug. But it was hard because they didn't want it to look awkward or fake, or that Lola didn't care for Anna like a mother figure should, even though they don't know each other, to have that sort of surrogate connection. But I feel that it was hard because trying to hug her while she's doing this speech it's an awkward interaction, because she can't really hug you back because she's deep in thought. So I think this is something that we're going to have to work on. Maybe we could change it up a little bit and change the direction or movement. But found that really interesting. At the same time, I play Esther on the other side. So on Bonnie's side, throughout this whole scene, Bonnie isn't on stage for quite a lot of it, but the scene is set in a bathroom of this girl's house called Esther, who she has a one-night stand with. Bonnie comes in earlier and puts some clothes on, sits on the toilet and with the toilet seat down, and this was something that I think we're going to have to look at for Bonnie's character, because there wasn't a lot of direction talked about. I think if I was Bonnie, I would sit and maybe collect a few items, and then maybe sit and think about what has just happened, because she's feeling regret because she's just had a one-night stand with someone. That's not something she'd usually do. I think she might be trying to clean up herself, make herself look presentable, but also try to be quiet because she wants to leave. When first introduced to the other character, Esther, I saw it as a harmless one-night stand, something that Bonnie regrets, but it is what it is. But when talking about it in a class discussion, it was decided that Esther would be more of a predatorial, sort of a more sexual predator than we initially thought, that it would be harmless. Not in a rape type way or in a abusive type way, but in someone who's more insistent, in someone who's more owning the space and trying to be more possessive of Bonnie, trying to get her to come back to bed, not in just a flirtatious way, but in a more seductive and possessive way. And I think that this changes the whole dynamic of the scene, because you're looking at this innocent baby who is Bonnie, that they are talking about in the centre scene with Anna and Lola, who is so vulnerable, who is sleeping upstairs while her husband is holding her, Bonnie's dad is holding her and Anna's husband is holding her. And you're thinking about the same baby that's been born there, almost being subjected to this interaction that's uncomfortable to witness and to be in, and again links to the Arto style. I think that they don't really show contrast in the mood of it, but I think that they're similar in that sense, but similar in the way that you feel when you watch them both. Obviously Anna is talking about a dream and this loss and regret that she feels from having Bonnie. I feel that she regrets, even though she loves Bonnie, there's no doubt about that, but that it was a girl. And so on the other side, Bonnie is sort of showing this feel of a shame and feeling ashamed, and I don't know whether that's got to do with perhaps maybe Alice Birch linking that to the way that Anna felt in the other scene in this center stage at the same time. But anyway, we go on to Esther and how she's being predatorial. He told us and directed us to show a lot of physical touching and intimacy, but in one way and not the other. So Esther was trying to be intimate with Bonnie and Bonnie was not responding. She talks about it was fun, I had fun, and can I see you again? I'd like to see you again if you would. I didn't mean to freak you out. The whole sort of interaction is very slow and there's a lot of pauses, and it's supposed to be calm, but this sense of uncomfortable nature. Bonnie wasn't supposed to look at Esther and we might build on this more, because I think we need to practice the actual intimacy, because we were focusing more on the intonation of the lines. To "I didn't mean to freak you out," for example, was supposed to be said like genuinely, but in a way that was sort of seductive as well, saying "I didn't mean to freak you out, don't leave, I'm not letting you leave." She says "come back to bed just for a minute." There is this long pause where I think we're going to have to figure something out, some sort of movement, because she's preventing her from leaving. So this, whilst the other scene is having the long monologue of Anna and the description of the dream, Esther and Bonnie have this interaction. The scene doesn't have a lot of dialogue between Esther and Bonnie, but I think there is this feeling that we are starting to see Bonnie explore new things that she hasn't, and feeling regret for those things. She's trying to explore the things that she's prevented herself from, because she realises she can't have a relationship connection. Could she have another connection? And I think she doesn't want that either. So this whole lack of connection that's really important for Bonnie and the understanding of her character.